Hey everyone, welcome to Celestine Expressive Arts. I'm Cecilia Ness. It's been a minute. Wanted to hop back on. I have been taking a little break on being online and on YouTube, and so wanted to come and offer you the August Tarot Reflection, give you some guidance, things to kind of think about and reflect on, which I do as well. We have some important transits that are ending in July that are ushering us into August that I'm going to start with. We'll start with the Astro update, and we'll start with these two major transits that happened in July. On the 26th, we had the lunar nodes changing signs, which is a big deal. And we'll discuss that. We'll talk a little bit about the full moon in Aquarius that happened on the 29th, that happened yesterday, that I feel connects to some of what we're working through in August. We have Chiron going retrograde at the beginning of August, and I feel like that connects because we got clinging to the past. Clinging to the past definitely has this Chiron energy, because Chiron is all about these wounds from the past. And so I think that definitely coincides with that. And then once we do the Astro update, we'll go into the spread, we'll go over the cards. It a little differently this time. I'm doing it in like 3 acts, kind of like a cosmic play. We'll start with the first act, which is the pre-Eclipse Purge. That's what I'm calling it. We've been purging and releasing these last few months, and so this is another opportunity to release a lot of things from the past, reconcile things from the past, wounds around like self-worth, definitely. Then we have the second act, which is this breakthrough. It's connected to the Leo solar eclipse that's happening August 12th. It's called the Sovereign Breakthrough. We've been talking a lot about that, about connecting to our inner authority, reclaiming our creative sovereignty, and that's connected to this Rebel card. This Rebel card has been coming up a lot. And then the third act, the final act, is this what's called the focused launch, or the leap forward. Because I think the lunar cycle, I that's what I subtitled it. It was like leaping forward, no turning back. And I feel like that's it. This is the final focused launch that we're preparing ourselves for as we move into the fall season. And I want to weave in some cultural perspectives, some artistic perspectives. So I'll be sharing an art piece that I came across recently and I thought really connected to this clinging to the past card, and we'll go into it, and just so that you have different perspective that you can kind of connect with. Then I also want to do a little mention of this TV series I just watched, and they brought up this Buddhist concept of hungry ghosts, which again connects to this clinging to the past card. Even this exhaustion card too. We got exhaustion. Maybe I'll pull some extra cards to get like this final closing message for us to leave with. I want to backtrack a bit and talk about the lunar nodes. What are lunar nodes? I'm learning along with you. Lunar nodes are not planets. They're actually points. They're points at the opposite end of this path that the sun and the moon intersect in. You have the north node, and then we have the south node. North node in astrology is our growth, like what we're heading towards, what we're trying to, it's our evolution, what we're wanting to expand. And our south node is our comfort zone. It's like where we're stuck. And then since we have 2 different points, we call it an axis. We're moving from a Pisces Virgo axis into an Aquarius Leo axis. Very different vibe. You have to consider the signs, right, that they're in, and the characteristics and the qualities that they bring into these transits, into this transit that we're moving into. And now we're shifting into Aquarius Leo axis, and so the Leo is in the south node. Could crave personal applause. It's all about me, and like, again, getting this attention, being the center of attention, very focused on external validation. Sometimes could, again, the shadow aspect of that, going to the extreme, it could be too focused on a lot of these ego-driven desires and inclinations. And so that's our comfort zone. Now, moving into the North Node in Aquarius, about it being more of this grander new vision that is collective, that it's not only about me, it's about we, about us, about something greater, grander. And so North Node in Aquarius, is more focused on community. Like, how does this impact me, but also how does it impact people in my community, my family, my loved ones, my partner, whatever groups you're a part of, the world globally. Maybe it's also work related or career related. So it's about teamwork and social causes, thinking about the bigger picture. Because when I was talking about the new vision card that we got for the moon cycle, that's what it felt like. It's more about this, and that's what Aquarius kind of encompasses. It's more of this more grander, community-based vision. How can we integrate that or connect that with something greater? And so start figuring out how we could use the things we're passionate about, the things that move us, the things that we, that we believe in and that we want to like uphold and fight for. How can we take all our talents and our skills and the things that our interests, the things that we're involved in, and how can they also benefit others and benefit a grander, greater cause, where it's not only like about self-interest, about gaining, right, about profiting and gaining and all that. So the full moon in Aquarius that happened yesterday on the 29th is kind of a different type of lunation, because it's being supercharged not only by the lunar nodes that switched signs a few days before. The North Node changed into Aquarius, so we have some of that Aquarius energy, both instances, but because this full moon is sitting right next to Pluto in Aquarius. So it's forming like this tense energy. So we have the lunar nodes that change signs. We have this full moon in Aquarius. And then right after it, at the beginning of August, we have Chiron going retrograde. And then Chiron is all about the wounded healer and our wounds from the past. And what did we get here? We got clinging to the past. That's slowly creeping up into this, Aquarius vibe that we're swimming in, preparing us to tear down and rebuild, because we've been talking about that. It's about recalibration and rebuilding and restructuring, and it's happening first internally so that we can restructure our lives externally. But it's not only individual. Again, it's also rebuilding of a whole paradigm of society. But it starts first with us individually. So the full moon is forming this tight conjunction, this alignment with Pluto, the planet Pluto. And full moons are all about illuminating something that's been hidden in your life, which means that we're going to have to dig deep into these buried truths that we haven't been wanting to see. And I feel like that's been an ongoing process that we've been going throughout this year, some of last year. It's like we have to do it in these increments, little by little, uncovering things like hidden shadows. We've been doing some deep shadow work. Some power struggles might come up. So this isn't like a casual, just emotional release, because full moons are about releasing. It's deeper than that. It's all about identity, our identity, maybe something shifting. We're going through some sort of identity crisis, or again, like reevaluating. It's going to require us to let go and shed a lot of things that have been holding us back. Shedding this skin. We've been talking about the metaphor of shedding skin too. It's not an easy, painless process, but it's very rewarding if we stick to it. Pluto with the moon forces us to face our deepest fears regarding rejection, belonging, where we have given our power away, not only in individual relationships, but also in group settings, in groups that we belong in, and a society as a whole. Chiron is going to be going retrograde on August 3rd, a few days after the full moon. It's going to connect to this full moon Pluto conjunction. and it's going to pull up old wounds. So something maybe externally might trigger this, or maybe you are thinking about your past and some sort of situation or conversation or something where this wound that is usually underneath, uncovered, untouched, is going to be triggered. And you're not going to be able to ignore it anymore. You're going to have to stop and go inward and tend to it and give it attention. And it's going to be, Chiron is going to be retrograde in Aries. And since it's in Aries, and the Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's all about the self, identity, about the individual, about us, how we see ourselves and perceive ourselves. But it also has to do with courage. So this is going to require a lot of courage from us. And the wound is, am I allowed to exist as my true self? Am I worthy if I don't please everyone else? And it's demanding that we stand up for ourselves and be able to show up authentically in these groups and these spaces and in society, and not have to compromise ourselves. If we are showing up inauthentically, it's like, then who is everyone really engaging with? Who is the world engaging with? Who is everyone else, right? If you're lying to yourself, then technically you're kind of lying to everyone else. Like there's this filter that's preventing true, honest, authentic presence to be there and to be felt and to be transmitted. So this is the opportunity to do that, right? And it's also connected again to this collective perspective as well, this collective movement that's happening, because it's also about standing up for what's collectively right and just and good. There's a lot of imbalance right now in society, and so I think that's also showing up in these bigger arenas in politics and government and these global arenas that we're seeing now of what's going on. We have 2 eclipses happening. Both of these eclipses are going to kind of trigger this healing, but they do it in a way that it accelerates it. It's accelerating this energy for us to get out of our comfort zone, which is the South Node, right? And move into this North Node energy of Aquarius. And so there's gonna be these pivotal moments that are gonna activate it and accelerate it because of the eclipses. So we have the total solar eclipse happening on the 12th in Leo. And then we have the partial lunar eclipse in Pisces happening on the 28th. We're going to end the month with that partial lunar eclipse. And because eclipses act as these destiny accelerators, it could feel like very high pressure, and there might be some volatile energy floating around. So just be aware of that. It could definitely trigger us to be very reactive. And based on what happens around us and within our relationships, there could be stuff happening externally that might trigger us. And so we have to kind of stay grounded. It exposes anywhere you are overperforming, over-functioning, right? We got the Exhaustion card. And so overperforming, over-functioning, overextending, people-pleasing, excessive emotional labor, on and on and on, chasing validation, keeping up with appearances, things that have been hidden. It could also not only be wounds, it could be like beautiful gifts and things that we love that we kind of forgot about, like certain passions that we had, certain talents that we don't utilize anymore that are just like kind of dormant within us. And now it's like something is going to help us bring that forth. So hidden gifts that we have that we've been scared of sharing because of, fear of rejection or not fitting in or being weird or whatever it might be. Because it's, again, connected to an old wound. It can be, yes, about wounds. It is about wounds, but it's also about gifts and talents and things that bring us joy and that we are passionate about and that are part of maybe our identity that we somehow cut ourselves off from, right? And we put on this other person, this other mask, because I have to be this certain way for my family, for my partner, for where I work, for school, in my community, So that's going to definitely come up for us. That's going to support us in this lunar eclipse to do this massive energetic purge. Major doors closing. Doesn't mean it has to be actual relationships ending, but it could be something ending within that relationship. Like, I'm not gonna do all the emotional labor anymore, and that's gonna shift, and that's gonna change the way you interact within that relationship. And maybe that might impact the partner, the person, the friend, and you finding your own way of honoring these endings. The eclipse is the final grand finale, wrapping up this Pisces Virgo cycle we just exited with the lunar nodes. It is here to clear out the lingering emotional baggage. What do we have here? Illusions, codependency, victim mindsets that are keeping us heavy. It forces us to let go of old delusions, draining attachments, dynamics, habits, where we were talking about escapism, addictions. Those are the hungry ghosts. Obsessions. It could be about certain things ending within ourselves when it comes to habits and mindsets and the way we think and the way we perceive ourselves. So letting go of habits that maybe we've been using to escape, to numb out, to distract ourselves so that we don't have to deal with these underlying hidden old wounds and habits that are still impacting us. The 5-card spread, we have past, present, and future, what's known to us and what's unknown to us. Clinging to the past, we start with this. This is the recent past. It's funny, we got clinging to the past in the past position. We can look at the image. We have someone who's stuck in this box of what the book describes it as is a box of memories. So it has to do with nostalgia. It has to do with being stuck in the past, romanticizing the past. Look at it with like rose-tinted glasses, right? And we forget all the messed up parts, and it's a bit distorted, right? Point is that we're clinging to it, right? It's something that's no longer, it's you know, it doesn't exist. It's clinging to this for some reason, and maybe we're unaware of that, right? It's in a subtle way, in a very covert way, that where we don't even see ourselves doing this. I think with the transits that we were talking about, with Chiron going retrograde, with the full moon in Aquarius, that energy as well, and Pluto, because Pluto's part of that. I think it's about that. It's like this full moon. And these transits are like illuminating this and kind of like tithering to it and not really being here in this 5 of Wands, which is totality. Totality is like, this is being fully present in the moment, right? Free to do what you have to do. Like, because this is like acrobats, right? You see, they have to be really fully present in their bodies, very focused to do this, right? Because they're each depending on each other so they don't fall. So this is like pure concentration, focus, discipline, being here now, fully embodied in what you're doing. And here, no, right? You're disconnected from your body. It's like the head is not even there. You're like stuck in this box. Every figure holding a box of memories right in front of their face while the present moment glows all around them, right? You see all the beautiful things that are happening, and they're not able to see that. They're too busy looking behind them. It connects to the Chiron going retrograde in Taurus. The places where we don't feel safe or good enough or enough pull us back into old stories. So it could be old loves, old losses, old versions of ourselves, old versions of what we defined as security that no longer exist. Even though it's limiting, even though it's confining, even though we've outlived it, it's familiar and it's what feels safe. This is guidance about not being tempted to, out of fear of the unknown, to go back to things and to people, to places, to things, to memories that no longer serve you, that no longer, that's it. There's no turning back anymore. Like, right, once you know something and once you see something, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow something. And it's like, now you know better. Now you know this has been illuminated and revealed to you. It's like, now we have to now move to this, to be fully, totally present now in this moment. I almost feel like the nostalgia is a hungry ghost. We're going to get into that metaphor when we get into the final end of the video. Like, you can't be for this, right? You can't be going through the motions. You have to be fully invested, fully present, aware. Like, your awareness has to be like, whew. I'm going to read this in a different order. So this is the recent past. Now, this is what's known to us about this recent past, and even the present is exhaustion, right? We might be feeling some level of exhaustion, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, maybe all of the above. 5 of Wands, just to get the contrast in the other of what it means in the traditional tarot, it represents conflict. Interesting. Competition, petty struggles. Definitely like represents some level of struggle, but we're moving out of that struggle. And struggle connects to this exhaustion card. It often shows a chaotic scene where people are chasing each other with sticks, meaning life is full of noise, ego clashes, differing opinions. So this is interesting the way they depict it in this card, because in order to have this accomplish this trick, right? You can't let egos get in the way. They have to cooperate. They have to find harmony and balance and work together, right? Teamwork. And so, there can be a lot of noise. They have to be fully focused within themselves and present to each other. And so it's interesting that in the 5 of Wands depiction, it's a little different. It's like the shadow aspect of it. And here it's showing us like, this is what we need to do. We have to be fully present. First is nice because it represents end of a conflict, walking away from drama, finding a way to cooperate. Exactly. Like the end, walking away from the past, letting go of this, of this internal, because I think that the conflict is internal. It's within us. It might show up externally and it might project itself that way, but really it's something that's happening within us. That's then shown to us, right? It's illuminated through this other person, the situation. And interesting enough, that brings us present. That brings us, boom, into this moment, right? Because we can't avoid it anymore. Like it reaches this crescendo where it's this pre-eclipse purge. That's what we're doing here to arrive to this. This pre-eclipse purge, the first part of this recalibration, restructuring. This is early August. Going back to the exhaustion card, which is 9 of Fire, 9 of Wands. Let's look at it. Looks like this robot, this machine, this mechanical apparatus that this figure is operating, or is that kind of stuck inside of. This position, right, in what's known, we have exhaustion. This is part of this process we're going through, this releasing, this purging. We're getting tired of having to hold this mask and hold all this that we're carrying that has to be let go of and released. And 5 of Cups is water. So this has to do with emotions. That's what what's keeping us tethered to the past is like this. It has to do with our emotional state. And that's what's really depleting our energy and taking our energy. And then we don't have that energy for this present, like right now, for the current moment, right? But look at how it progresses. This is interesting. So vertically, we have all these wands. This is all fire. The past is water, right? We have this watery element that we're working through. We're purging, we're releasing. And then, yes, it's an exhausting process to constantly, because we've been doing this all year, purging and releasing and recalibrating, and and so we go from exhaustion to totality to this, we're gaining our strength, we're getting our focus back, We're reclaiming our power, our inner authority, our sovereignty, and we're getting more fully present and embodied. And then it goes into this intensity card, the Knight of Wands, where look at like the momentum. It's slowly, even this feels like they're slowly getting momentum, and they're getting out of this confinement and the stagnation, because exhaustion is that too, right? It's like stagnant, dense energy that needs to move and needs to be released, which I see happening here as we progress, because this is what's unknown. This is like probably connects to this near future, which is the rebel. And then this is the ultimate archetype for us to embody right now. Think about Nine of Wands in traditional tarot. So Nine of Wands symbolizes resilience. So this is good too, right? There's some healthy aspects to this, right? Resilience and standing your ground, because I think in traditional tarot it's a figure who's like coming out of battle. They're exhausted from like having to struggle and fight, you know, and stand their ground and stuff like that. But it's still hopeful. There's a hopeful aspect to the card. And that's where the resilience comes in. But it's definitely a tired person who has been through hard times and is ready for one. So it talks about one final challenge. So maybe this is it. This is our one final test or obstacle or lesson that we have to go through to finally release this other layer before we can move into this energy right here. You're close to the finish line, even though you feel very tired. It is time to protect your energy. We were talking about energy protection in the last moon cycle reading reflection, where I was talking about that. And that's why I've taken a break from being online. It's about like taking back our energy, our attention, our life force back. So I feel like this is a part of that too, and that connects to this Buddhist concept of hungry ghosts that I'll get into, because we were talking about addictions and attachments and obsessions and overthinking and ruminating and all that as well last moon cycle. And so I feel like that's kind of bleeding into this reading as well. We're still working through that, letting go of that, right? Because it takes time to of certain habits. So yeah, it's time to protect our energy, to learn how to direct our energy, because I feel like this is very intentional, very, very powerful directed energy. Very different than these cards, right? It's like the opposite end of that. This is also showing us that yes, we will be able to get through this, if we're able to have the courage to do the deep work, because we're definitely it's going to get intense and it's going to get deep and stuff is going to come up, but it's because it has to come up in order for us to see it and acknowledge it and heal it. Big believer of rest as resistance, you know, especially in this society that pushes, you know, productivity and all this other stuff. So take time to rest. Act 1 shows what's being recalibrated. The hunger that lives in old stories, the way we keep powering machines that no longer serve the soul. Machines. Interesting. We're not machines. Although we're moving into this very mechanical way of life, if you think about it. And we got to fight that. Into Act 2, which is Sovereign Breakthrough. This is mid-August. And this is the Rebel card. I mean, I could read the Rebel card as the last card of the narrative, but I feel like this is like the main character, the leading person in this story, and that's us, the Rebel. The Rebel has made numerous appearances throughout the months. I gotta look back and see which readings, but this is the Emperor in traditional tarot. And so the Rebel definitely is connecting to this Leo solar total eclipse that's happening on August 12th. No more dimming your light, right? No more dimming your light, and no more clinging to the past and being this old version of yourself, this old persona. Rebel stands with broken chains at his feet. a radiant sun on his shoulder and a torch in his hand. It's still the emperor archetype. Someone taking up space, someone, right, freeing themselves and taking up space. And there's this beautiful like energy of liberation and freedom with the eagle here, with the bird and the flame, again with the sun too, right? It's powerful, it's energy, it's like source. Someone with authority, right? His authority no longer comes from these old systems. The past might be like on a grander scale, and so this authority is also not connected. It's not coming from these old systems, and this is connecting to that Aquarius energy of like very forward, future forward thinking, innovative thinking, thinking outside of the box, thinking in new innovative ways, creating new systems that actually work and that consider the whole, that consider the collective, that consider the grander global community of humans and not just the few. The way you have been seeking validation, approval, it's up for revision. The rebel doesn't wait for permission. He or she becomes the locus of his own or her permission. They step off the treadmill of exhaustion, right? Because this is like hustle culture. This is like work, work, work. This is like the American dream. And like, we gotta, this is like the social media influencer. And like, this is like, let me push my brand and sell this thing and like market myself and like, all this shit. This is doom scrolling. This is like, again, allowing these systems to take our energy, take our attention, and we gotta, this is it. We gotta take all that shit back. That authority has to come from within. If you think about it, this is the emperor. Emperor also is for the people. This is about the people, for the people, led by the people. This is just one person within that collective group, but it's like one, it's a domino effect. It starts with the individual. It starts with you liberating yourself, you taking responsibility for your own life and shifting these things internally for yourself, and then everyone else slowly doing that, and boom, 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 boom. It's like it spreads like wildfire, since we're talking about fire here. And that's the second act, right? We go from this clinging to the past and exhaustion to liberating ourselves from that, cutting these chains that keep us tethered to this way of operating that's harming us, that's limiting us, that's keeping us stuck in these old, outdated ways. And then we arrive to the final act, Act 3, which is Totality and Intensity. They're very similar cards, if you look at that. The colors, these reds and yellows and maroon, purple, very beautiful. I would say the focus leap, the intentional leap of faith, because I called the last moon cycle reflection leaping forward, no turning back. Like there's no turning back with this, you can see that. And this is late August. This is what's unknown to us. So this is connected to this future card. This is what's ahead of us right now, and that's slowly taking momentum right now in the present with this totality card. Act 3 belongs to this Pisces lunar eclipse, which you wouldn't think it would, because the lunar eclipse is in Pisces, so it's very watery. I think it's going to dredge up some of it's like before we close the month, we're getting that opportunity to finally so we're going to be working through this all month, even with the solar eclipse, which is really bringing out this more fiery, more powerful energy, this transformative energy. We're still going to be, even with that, after the eclipse, we're still going to be working on releasing this. With the Pisces lunar eclipse also heading into Virgo season, it's definitely going to shift the energy. With the five of fire, with the totality card, I was saying trapeze artists in midair, no backup plan, no multitasking, just living in the moment, suspended between trust and action. So that after the blast of the Leo eclipse, this card is asking us to gather our scattered selves and land in one reality. Because then also with clinging to the past, and maybe that's what's causing the exhaustion, is like, you know, we're in all these multiple timelines. We're in the past, we're in the present, we're in the future, we're sometimes not even here at all. We're like checked out. Consciousness kind of spread out in these different timelines. It's about our energy and our attention. Coming back to this one moment, this one conversation, this one task that's in front of us. The one body that we're given, that we're in, that we're living, that's taking us through this moment too, right? Sometimes we're not even connected to our body. We're kind of like disassociated. And these two cards, you can see they're very, very in their body, and they're very, very focused and present. Here you can see some of this like fragment, scattered energy, but it's funny because it's all condensed but still not connected. And then there is the fragmentation of being disconnected from, almost disembodied. There's this like disembodiment in these two cards, and these cards are very embodied. Coming back to ourselves. This is a recalibration of attention. Instead of living in 10 different timelines at once, we come back to this one moment in time. It echoes this Virgo season that we're going to be entering in, I think on August 22nd, when the sun enters Virgo. This desire to be fully present in the details of everyday life. So in a way, you know, thinking of Virgo's beautiful qualities, that's one of the gifts that it gives us. Becoming more practical, focusing on our daily routines, our day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, the practical things, because that's what's going to sustain us. And maybe there's something about the way, you know, instead of over-functioning and overdoing and overextending and over-scheduling, and it's like changing that. Maybe that's connected to this Virgo energy we're going to be entering, where it's going to help us recalibrate our daily routines, our daily habits, the way we function. Maybe it's like working less hours at your job, you know, changing your schedule, carving more time for yourself to be more fully present. And then with the intensity card, which is the Knight of Wands or Knight of Fire, this is what's unknown to us right now, but it's gonna emerge soon. And this is linked to, at the end of the month, the Pisces lunar eclipse. Is underneath, intensity appears as this concentrated arrow of color shooting through darkness, right? These are a little bit more muted, dark colors, right? And we're coming out of this like confusion, fogginess, and stagnation. This very like hazy nostalgia that keeps us stuck to the past. And we're getting more clarity, right? We're getting more, so this intensity, this concentrated like energy. And that's going to dissolve all these old illusions. This card is showing us what happens when our fire is no longer fragmented. Desire stops spinning in circles, right? We stop spinning our wheels like in this mechanical apparatus thing, where we stop going around and around and around. And we get off that hamster wheel. And then we get more focused. And we start traveling in a direction instead of going around in circles. We start going in a spiral, right? Ascending. Past and exhaustion, that's connected to this hungry ghost phase that we're trying to get out of. And then intensity is what's emerging when we stop feeding the ghost with more fantasy and escapism and our addictions and habits. And that's taking up space and not allowing for this new energy to come in. I wanted to add this new segment to my reflection videos. It's called Living Symbols, Art and Inquiry, where I bring in contemporary art and cultural perspectives for us to have as another point of reference and another layer of insight and information that might help us as we move through these transits and cycles. And so I found this amazing painting by Daniel Ludwig. He's an American artist, originally from Colorado, I think currently living in New York. And he does these amazing figurative paintings. As you could see, they're very dreamlike. He uses the human form and layers them with all these different mixed patterns and textures and backgrounds. And I don't know, for some reason, it made me think of what was coming up for this reading as one of the themes, and definitely connecting to this clinging to the past card that I feel I wanted to present to you. Like, we could look at it together, and instead of really explaining it, because we're all going to have a different perspective, but sitting with it and seeing what we feel. What does it bring up for you, feeling wise? The feeling that it's creating for you. And there's, is there something there about the layered self, right? You see all these different layers, and you can see it in the clinging to the past too. Even though it's this box of memories, this box, it's like you can see all the colors and shapes and different layers that make up this box. And same with Daniel's painting, where you see her. I almost feel like it even connects to the Exhaustion card, because she's like resting, she's like laying. We could say that she's tired. The painting is called Daydream too, which I think is awesome too, because you could see she's daydreaming. The layers could be these memories, right? These layered selves, about being surrounded by memory, different memories, fantasy, other versions of reality, other versions of ourself that are not fully here. And so before we move on to the next inquiry, I'm going to be presenting this Buddhist concept called Hungry Ghost, which connects to this. I thought we could maybe take time to reflect on a question that we can maybe journal on around this time, as the month begins, or as it's moving along and progresses. What is a part of you that is still living in this box of memories, or in a parallel life that no longer exists, right? In the past, this other timeline. And when we keep reaching towards those ghostly timelines, what is the deeper hunger underneath that we're reaching for, right? This craving, this addiction, this obsession. Like, what is it underneath that? What is it that it's actually pointing us to, that needs attention, that needs love, that needs healing? So it's something to think about and reflect on. So before we move to the closing message, I also wanted to bring this cultural perspective, because I got inspired. I was watching this TV series called Slip on Peacock. I got a free subscription, so I found this really, really great and funny show. And anyway, it's what introduced me to this Buddhist concept of hungry ghosts. And so the main character in the show, May, keeps slipping into different parallel versions or parallel timelines of her life. So a new partner, a new aesthetics, a new space that she lives in, everything configured completely different. And she keeps cycling through these different versions, these parallel versions of her life, trying to find the one reality that will fill this certain void that the storyline opens up with. She's like, it kind of shows her stuck in this rut in her marriage, and kind of going through the motions and like the same routine over and over again, and like feeling kind of like this emptiness, which I feel really connects to this clinging to the past card that's coming up for us. And I started talking about it in the previous reading for the new moon cycle, that I feel that it's a continuous theme that we're working through. And so from this, I'm sharing here this from the Buddhist cosmology, the Wheel of Life, right? And in this painting, these hungry ghosts are you can't see it here, but they're shown with these bloated bellies and very narrow throats. We could say that they're living with this ache that cannot be fed, always reaching for more and receiving less, consuming without really digesting. And consuming doesn't have to be actual food, it can be whatever we consume, like the information we consume, being online, the media that we're consuming, just on and on and on. And so the craving is constant, but the nourishment is not there. Look at it from this, psycho-spiritual perspective, it is like clinging to the past. And this exhaustion card, where we're trying to fill this inner ache with this nostalgia, with like romanticizing the past and like thinking about the past, like somehow things were better then, even though maybe they weren't, because that's what time does. It distorts our recollection of memory. And maybe because we don't want to face the present, maybe there's things that are coming up for us that we have to kind of confront. And instead of doing that, it's easier to, put our rose tinted glasses and romanticize the past, or cling to the past of like, how things used to be, or like, or even regrets. I think sometimes when we think about these hungry ghosts, it could be our own addiction, our own attachment to suffering. I know that makes no logical sense, but we do that. We do that because it feels comforting, because it's familiar. It's what we know. Our nervous system knows, it feels comfortable in that. Versus like the future, which is unknown, right? It's scary. We don't know. As much as we plan and we have our goals, and we organize ourselves and plan, we don't, there's an aspect of not knowing really how things are going to unfold, and that's scary. In those transitional times, it's easy to allow these hungry ghosts to take hold of us. And it's not about ignoring them, because I think if you ignore them, they just grow, and they become much more, they start taking over our lives more. And it's not about feeding them what they want, right? The craving that they have, because it's not really nourishing. It's just temporary relief, right? So it's about acknowledging the hungry ghosts in our lives, whatever that might be, because it's going to be different for everyone. And it's about like really that question that we were reflecting on prior, the previous slide, about like, what is it, what's underneath that craving, what's underneath that longing, that insatiable longing that you have, what is it really pointing to, what's under there? And I think it's connected to this wound that's going to be triggered and activated around this time next month. And we're going to have that opportunity to slow down, to rest, because we're exhausted of pretending and performing and doom scrolling and distracting ourselves and all that. And we're wanting to integrate these shadow aspects, these wounds that are still alive in us, that we've kind of repressed and hidden. And so in Buddhist traditions, you don't heal hungry ghosts by giving them more of what they're demanding or by banishing them, but by changing the food, changing the quality of the attention. The food, again, it's not literal food. It could be, but it's also a metaphor for like, what is it that you're feeding your soul, your thing that's aching in you, right? And there's an underlying reason for that. And so what is it that, maybe it's love, maybe it's compassion, maybe it's rest, maybe it's attention. There's a part of you that wants attention, that wants to be seen, that wants to be attended to, and that's a healthy and normal desire and longing. But it's like, sometimes we don't admit it to ourselves, and then it gets distorted, and again we start looking for it in all these other harmful or unhealthy ways. Just to kind of come full circle and wrap this up, and then I'll do the closing message. Like, so the character in the TV show, May, her turning point is the movement from exhaustion, because she keeps cycling through all these different versions of her life, into this rebel, into totality. Those are the two cards that we were talking about. Totality is in the present position now, and then the rebel is in the future position. And so stopping the chase, stop seeking, stop this obsessive seeking long enough to actually sit in your life, in the life that you have now, here and now, with the people that are present here and now, and not necessarily wanting to want other things that you don't have, but actually appreciating what you have. It's not bad to have goals and dreams and these things that you're striving for, but it's also about not letting it take over you, that you're not even present and embodied in your own life right now, here and now. I'm going to pull one card, one overarching closing message for us. And yeah, I'm thinking August is a month that feels more a month of recalibration. Oh, look at this card instead. And befriending our hungry ghosts, getting to know our shadow, right? And seeing what's coming up for us now in the form of this wound that we were talking about that's connected to Chiron going retrograde, the full moon in Aquarius, and all these other transits that's supporting this deep healing, really. We get, and we'll close it there. The Maiden. Interesting. Okay. I'm seeing this to go beyond gender. This is more to do with innocence, this level of purity that we all possess. And I think that that's what it's pointing to, because it's like staying curious. So even through this shadowy like path that we're having to travel through, it's like, stay curious about it. It says here, the maiden represents the side of us that is excited, curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, taking just one taste of poisonous fruit. I mean, the way I'm reading it is like, it's okay to go down this shadow into the underworld and look at all these hungry ghosts. And it does not about perfection, right? In recovery, it's progress, not perfection. And so even if we get enticed into these dark alleyways and dark passages, it's like, stay curious about it, because it's going to reveal a lot of what we need, the medicine that we need, the way out of it. And there's magic in it. There's magic in that. Alchemizing the shadow into light, into this intensity card. I mean, that's the way I'm reading it. We could pull one more card just to, I don't know, just to see what we get. The Creator! Oh my God! You can't even, we got the Creator in the previous reading too. This is amazing. The Creator, the first archetype in the trio of existence. It is not intimidated by darkness or by lack. They know that from the void, creation inevitably emerges. With meager, minimal, outlandish materials, the Creator reveals a new image. They make the empty room resonate with healing sounds. They generate bounty from the seed that others tossed away, leaving unexpected openings in the wake of its destruction. The Creator does this by first being absolutely present to what is. What have we been talking about? Totality. Being here in the present moment and not imagining or wishing things were different. What is that? Clinging to the past. And secondly, trusting that a force greater than themselves awaits constant collaboration with each human soul, whether we call it nature, God, goddess, Shakti, divinity. It remains nameless. It is the Creator's lifelong companion. And what does this also represent? Just like the maiden, curiosity, playfulness, openness, staying surprised, connecting to awe and wonder. Right there, people. Sending you lots of love.